For some people, even though they may be first-time home buyers, the programs that are available don't fit or don't work for them. For example, someone may have 20% to put down on a house.
Right.
If you have 20% to put down on a house, and if you have excellent credit scores, you're probably not going to want to go with a first-time home buyer program, probably not going to want to go with a government loan.
Okay.
Because all the government loans have something called mortgage insurance affiliated with them. If you can avoid the mortgage insurance, you want to do that. But most first-time home buyers are not in a position to put down 20%.
That's correct.
Most first-time home buyers have minimal down payment, or even in some instances, no down payment. And in those instances, the government loans oriented towards first-time home buyers are really the solution. One program that comes to mind is the CHFA program, the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority. It is a program that is funded by the state of Connecticut, and it offers a discounted rate. Today's rate, actually they changed the rate today, is 4.875 with 1 point on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage.
Huh?
So it's a good rate, and it's a good program. But that program, for whatever reason, may not be appropriate for some people. Another program that's a good program, generally oriented to first-time home buyers, but not specifically oriented to first-time home buyers, is the FHA program.
Okay.
With an FHA program, you can, again, put down the very minimal percent, 3.5%. The closing costs are controlled by the federal government. They're good loans, and they're basically oriented to first-time home buyers, but not necessarily oriented to first-time home buyers.
I see.
The key is talking to a loan officer, perhaps talking to 2 loan officers, getting comfortable with whomever you're speaking, and moving forward to get a pre-approval. It's when you do the pre-approval that you see the documentation, which will ultimately change, but you see a good faith estimate of truth in lending, all the state and federal disclosures and so forth, and you get a much better idea as to what you're getting.
Okay, thank you so much.
Excuse me.
It seems like that your down payment will kind of decide which program you're going to choose. So the best recommendation I personally would give is save up a good portion of your down payment so that you can avoid, of course, mortgage insurance, and choose the best program just to save money.
Well, I wouldn't deter people from going with the smaller down payment programs. There are people who, for whatever reason, need to buy before they have 20% to put down. And it may be a long time before they have 20% to put down.
Right. So the max would be 3.5.
I would encourage those people to look at those programs. There's also, for veterans.
Right.
We have Memorial Day coming up. For
Yes,
veterans,
that's true.
0% down. Excellent programs. Again, government loans. Very, very good loans. So there are a wide variety of programs to fit every need or every situation.
Thank you. It's wonderful that everybody is able to afford a home. I mean, 3.5% is it's different than 20%, and it's wonderful that the government is providing those loans and that everybody is able to own a home. I will give Sarah. Sarah, do you have one question for Steve?
If I were to pick one, I guess I'd like to know about the upfront costs of applying or financing a mortgage.
That's a good question that people should know. There are closing costs. There are always going to be closing costs with mortgages, period. There are legal fees. There's title insurance. There's appraisal fees. There are inspection fees that are necessary. You want to have a home inspection. We'll get to that later, I'm sure. And there are associated with fees with getting mortgages. There are certain mortgages where there are no fees, but those mortgages have higher interest rates associated with them. So you're going to pay for them one way or another. You're going to pay for them either in dollars and paying for them up front, or you're going to pay for them in a form of a higher interest rate. Most people wisely choose to pay for their closing costs. Also, there are points. Everybody has a question about what are points, how do they work, and blah, blah, blah. A point is a fancy way of saying prepaid interest. 1 point equals 1% of the loan amount. As a borrower, you have a choice to make. And most programs do not require you to pay points. There are some programs that do require you to pay points. CHFA, for example, CHFA requires 1 point. But you can get a VA or an FHA loan, perhaps at a slightly higher interest rate, but with paying no points. Paying points or not paying points is a personal decision. And in general terms, where it's possible to avoid paying points, I suggest to people to avoid paying the points if they can do so. But in addition to actual closing costs, you're also going to have prepaids. You're going to escrow, that is, you're going to establish an account, your lender will establish an account that goes along with the mortgage account that will pay taxes and insurance. And that's called an escrow. It's a separate account, but it's joint, if you will, with the main account. And that account you will pay into monthly, but you have to set up that account. You have to establish that account. It's like priming a pump. So in essence, if you're going to escrow, and you're going to escrow for most loans, especially the government loans, you're going to need between 8 and 9 months worth of taxes in general terms, and you're going to need between 12 and 15 months worth of insurance in general terms. Those are not actual closing costs. Those are fees that you would be paying one way or another, whether or not you escrowed. So they are not costs associated with getting the mortgage, they are costs associated with getting the house. But as a buyer, you should be prepared to have both closing costs, and you should also be prepared to have your escrows. One of the advantages of the government loans, that is the CHFA, the VA, the FHA loans, is that they will allow the seller to pay for a substantial portion of those closing costs and what are called allowable fees and costs. And that might be a way of offsetting some of the initial upfront costs for first-time homebuyers who really need that help.
So there are costs, and I'm sure that Steve will be very happy to give you maybe a sample estimate at any time.
Yep.
Let's see if you can have maybe some question answered by Joan. Joan, an inspector plays a very large role in the home buying process, and I know we need to wrap up soon. But tell us a little bit, how does the inspector comes in? Where does the inspector comes in, and which part do you play in the home buying process?
Sure. Well, the home inspector comes into the real estate transaction at the point where you've found the home that you are going to choose to put a bid on. You've made up a contract with Katya, and in that contract there's a clause that gives you between 10 and 14 business days. Am I correct, Katya?
Yes.
And in that time frame, within that 10 to 14 business days, you have to secure a home inspection company, have the home inspection done, and if there's any items or defects or any issues that concern you, you're going to want to work with your agent and with all parties involved on both sides of the equation, the buyers and the sellers, to see what you can rectify that has been found with the inspection. During that time as well, you're going to want to have any environmental tests that perhaps concern you, from radon in air, radon in water. I know West Hartford City Water, but if you're on the outskirts of town or outside of West Hartford, you would want to have your water tested for potability and such. So all of these results have to come in within that time frame as well. And that's where we come into the picture.
And can you give us a range? How much does a first-time buyer or a buyer in general has to expect to pay for your mortgage,
okay.
Mortgage
I'm gonna give you
mortgage inspection? Sorry.
That's all right, no
I'm
problem.
confused.
That's a new fee?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, no more fees, please. Sarah's going to leave. No, you can expect to pay between, I would say, $345 and about $470, give or take, on either side. The low end would cover like a 1,200 square foot townhouse, okay, going up through like a 1,200 square foot ranch to a 2,000 square foot colonial. So you can, in a ballpark figure, expect to pay, say, between $345 and $500. But what I'd like to point out in that range is, with our company anyway, you are able to get a few components in there for nothing. It's part of the home inspection. We don't charge extra for it, and that would be looking for termites, powder post beetles, wood boring, insects of those types. So that includes your termite inspection. And we also offer free of charge, again, part of the regular inspection, if there's an above ground oil tank. I like to say it twice, above ground oil tank, because people tend to think of the oil tanks as being underground. But this would normally be found in your basement. We check on the condition of that as well. So you get a little more value-added service
Wonderful.
for your money.
Thank you so much. So that's great information.
Yes.
And I'm sure that Joan will be willing to answer more questions
Yes,
after
of
the
course.
show. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and being such a big part of a great discussion. And thank you so much for listening to us. And if you have more questions, please visit us at www.accentrealtyteam.com. And we do have to give away a wonderful book. It's a book for first-time buyers. You can request it at our website, accentrealtyteam.com. Joan would be happy with Tiger Home Inspection to answer some question. Steve as well with Connecticut Mortgage. Just watch after the show. I think we will display a phone number or websites. If you have any questions, you can call us at any time. I hope we were helpful to you. Our next show will be about selling and decluttering and how to stage your home well. So come back next month and we hope to give you some more valuable information.